Hello and welcome back to another episode of Midweek Market Watch. This is the ongoing series where I talk about all the different price increases and decreases, whoops, just bumped my mic, in the Riftbound market over the last week. We're going to go straight into sealed product. If you want to hear the updates for the European market, go ahead and go to the timestamp that I'm putting on the screen now. But yeah, we're going to jump straight into the US market, starting with sealed product. We've got Riftbound booster displays having dropped just a little bit, down $13, actually $14, down to a price of $220, which is much better than it was. This got up to $300 at one point, I think, which is absolutely nuts. Yeah, it got all the way up to $330, and then now it's been steadily dropping. And a big reason for why these have been dropping is because Second Wave has now hit local game stores. I know that the stores near me have gotten their allocations, and they've gotten a decent amount of product. I played at a Nexus night last night where they had, I think, like 24 boxes that they got delivered. So they're actually selling product again. They are selling it for a little bit over MSRP, which is a little bit disappointing, but they have product to sell, which is more than a lot of places. So good to see that. Booster display cases are down also, down $144. Now the value for a booster display case is about $15.66. A booster pack sitting at about $13, $14 in value. This hasn't changed much over the last 7 days. The starter decks haven't changed much either. Jinx 1 is going to be $27. The Lee Sin actually has changed quite a bit. So the Lee Sin starter deck is now up to $40, which is a $10 increase in the last 7 days. And the Victor one has gone up even more from where it was before. So the Victor starter deck now sitting at $50, which is a $4 increase from last week. Proving Grounds down a big chunk of change. It used to be, let's see, I guess it was 230 7 days ago, and now it's gone down $35, sitting just under 200, which is good to see because Proving Grounds is something that a lot of people are trying to get their hands on so they can play the decks and the legends in that box, and also get their hands on copies of Flash as well. Okay, we're going to jump straight into our high value movers here. Take note, I am hiding sealed product, but I am allowing overnumbers and promos to show, and you're going to see that a lot of these increases are going to be in the overnumbered cards, the signature cards, as well as some of the promos. I think the only main deck card in here that's not a promo or an overnumbered card is Seal of Discord. Now, let's talk about Seal of Discord, because this is up 192%, which is kind of crazy. The price increases on this card are pretty blatant market manipulation. If you look at these graphs, this card was sitting around $17 for a long time, like for most of its lifespan, right? And then only in the last couple of days has it just skyrocketed from 17 all the way up to 43. But if you look at the TCGPlayer graph, where did that go? If you look at the TCGPlayer graph here, you're going to see that this price increase was just like a massive spike because this card basically got bought out. It was a huge buyout. Look, 200 items sold, 170, 139, like over the past couple of days. So someone went in and just bought up all of the Seals of Discord on the platform. Now, when you see a price skyrocket like this in the span of just a couple of days, it's almost always an indicator that this is just market manipulation of someone just trying to buy out the card and then increase its price dramatically. And then, sell it and dump them all off at a higher price before it goes back down. So really bad time to buy Seal of Discord. This card is good. It will be good in the next set. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's worth $45. And I would wait until this goes back down, or at least until it stabilizes a little bit and we can see if this is actually the value of it going up and not just the market being manipulated. So that's the story with Seal of Discord. Pretty crazy price increases there. The GG Easy Teemo also going up $40, so it's now sitting around 577 market value. And the Ari Alluring launch exclusive promo has also gone up a little bit. It's up $32, now sitting at a market value of 146. This card, it's cool to see it going up a little bit, for the purposes of my collection. Like I have my PSA 9 copy that I got graded with PSA. I'm not planning on selling this anytime soon, so it doesn't really affect me, these price increases, but it is neat to see that that promo is going up in value slightly. If you want to talk about decliners, though, Kaiser Survivor, back on the downturn. This card got all the way up to $100. Now it's dropped 20 in the last 7 days, and it's sitting at 81, so a more reasonable price for this card. It is, of course, I think we're going to get to the epics in a second, but I believe this is still the most expensive epic card in the set. Dead Bloom Predator has dropped from 80 all the way down to $60 this week. So this card, again, got up to like 117 at one point, dropped $20 last week, dropped another 20 this week. This card is much cheaper now than it was for its entire lifespan within the game since launch, and it's really cool to see because a lot of people want to play this card in their decks. The alternate art for Kaisa is now at 100, so it's dropped $20 from last week. It's corrected back down to just that $100 mark, which is where it was for a while. Dazzling Aurora has dropped, fell another $17, so now it's about 40. We got the Set the Boss Overnumber here at 80. White Flame Protector had a 35% decrease, so all the way down to 25, which is absolutely nuts because 2 weeks ago this was a $60 card, and now it's a $25 card. Its price was slashed in half. So pretty crazy drops on this one. Time Warp has dropped $10, so now at 57. Invert Timelines at 23 and Seal of Unity at 22. So some pretty significant decreases across the board. This big crash that happened last week is still going on. So the market is still on the downturn. A lot of things are getting cheaper because of that second wave that came through. And yeah, this game is much more affordable because of it. If we're talking mid-value here, a lot of the mid-value risers are in the promos. So the Jinx Rebel promo, this was the release event promo that you got if you attended a Riftbound Origins release event. So that's gone up $3, which is a big percent increase, but it's still only at 16. Immortal Phoenix is up to $10 now. This is a pretty slight increase, you know, all things considered. But I believe the price increases on this card are due to this new like Resurrection Jinx style of deck that's going around that plays Soul Gorgers and Immortal Phoenixes and tries to like bring units back from the trash. So that's kind of exciting that a new deck archetype is showing its face before Spirit Forge comes out. The Order Rune has gone up $1, now at $11. The Lee Sin Ascetic promo, this is just like the Jinx Rebel release event promo, so that's gone up a tad. The Victor Innovator alt art has gone up, and this is probably due to the prevalence of this like no unit Victor that's being played in China right now. That is part of the Spirit Forge meta and is projected to be a pretty good deck in the next set. So people probably want the alt art version of the leader for that, so that's going to be at $5.50. And then the other Victor has also gone up slightly. But Set Brawler on the decline, now at $16. Zanya's Hourglass has dropped in half, basically, now down to about $5.50. The Body Rune, this is the alt art rune, not the Nexus Knight promo rune. That's down $5, now sitting at $12. The Fury Rune is down to $16. Bullet Time has dropped $5. Darius Trifarian has seen a crazy drop here. This card was one of the most popular rare cards in the entire set and was kind of steady around the $10 mark for most of its lifespan. But in the last 7 days, its price has gone straight down to $5. It's been cut in half. So really cool to see. Darius Trifarian is definitely one of the best rare cards in the set. So if you don't have 3 copies of it, or if you're looking for a few copies to kind of pad out your decks that are playing red, probably a good time to buy. Again, none of the things I say on this series are financial advice. But if I didn't have 3 copies of Darius Trifarian, this is when I would get them because they're so cheap. They're only $5. Divine Judgment has also gone down. Now it's sitting at $7. The Alt Art Calm Rune, this is actually the Nexus Knight promo version, is down to $13. Seal of Focus down to $10, and Baited Hook has also dropped slightly down to $18.50. Take a look at low value, and you see some pretty crazy hikes on Rasa the Sunderer. I'm pretty sure these increases are another example of market manipulation because 194% is kind of crazy. So I think this is a buyout. And yeah, if you go over here to the TCG player graph, you can see that this card was $3 max, you know, back in December. At one point it was $4, like in mid-December, but it's been sitting around $1 for basically this entire month until recently when someone went in and bought 226 of these for $3.50 and the price skyrocketed. Usually, again, just like with Brynhir we saw last week, this is usually an example of market manipulation. So I would expect this to come right back down within the next week. And I would recommend that no one gives into the panic on this card. This card is probably not going to stay at $5. So let's just hold off on that and keep our eyes on whether that price actually stays up that high. But nothing super exciting here in the low value category. The Yasuo Windrunner alt art has actually decreased quite a bit. It was at $10 and now it's down to $5. So pretty cool for that card if you want to play purple Yasuo or try to make him work. Okay, let's talk about Brynhir. So Brynhir is down to $2. It's a $4 decline from what it was last week. And this is what I predicted. Last week, we saw this card shoot up to like $5. You know, people were speculating that maybe this card is going to be broken in Spirit Forge, that there are some cool combos you can do with this card. But no, this was just a market manipulation. Again, just like I said, this card was just bought out at a crazy price. And then almost immediately, the price just dropped straight back down to what it was. So you got to be careful with these price increases. You don't want to give into the hype and just buy when you see the graphs that look like this. Always just take your time and wait and see if it comes back down. Because a lot of the time when something is that drastic of a price increase, it'll fall right back down. So this card right back down to a comfortable $2. Mind Splitter has dropped a little bit down to $4. Stack Deck, still one of the most popular cards in purple, down to $4. Actually, like I guess $3, $3.50. And then, yeah, not too many big decreases here. Again, all these are pretty big percentage decreases, but they're very cheap cards. So this is all the low value stuff. Let's talk about the alt arts. So all of these alt arts are seeing decreases except for just a couple, like the 2 Victor ones have seen slight price jumps, but everything else is dropping in price. Kaisa Survivor alt art is at 100, Misfortune Captain at 18, Ari Inquisitive at 16, Set Brawler also at 16, and then everything else at $10 or less. When it comes to signature spells, Showstopper still leading the pack at 32. Zenith Blade has caught up and surpassed Acathian Rain for second place. So Zenith Blade is now the second most expensive signature spell in the set at $21. Acathian Rain down to 21. Bullet Time has dropped 20% in the last 7 days, so now down to $16. Cool to see if you want to play Misfortune. Super Mega Death Rocket has also dropped slightly, now down to 12. And then the rest of these have also all seen slight decreases as well. But everything is $10 or less after Super Mega Death Rocket. So pretty neat on those. When it comes to just normal epic cards, we already talked about most of these, but Kaisa Survivor is down, Dead Bloom is down, Time Warp is down. Seal of Discord is the one that's just shot up, but once again, that's just someone buying out the card and hoping to drive the price up before pumping and dumping it. So let's just hold off on that card and wait until next week to see if it drops, because I'm pretty sure it's going to come right back down. Dazzling Aurora has seen some pretty significant drops as well. White Flame, again, down to 25, which is crazy. That's its lowest price ever. Invert Timelines has dropped. Seal Unity has dropped. And then all the other epics in here have seen steady drops as well over the last couple of weeks. So cool to see that the market is settling back down. When it comes to signature cards, same old story here. Not much to talk about. Kaisa still the most expensive at $1,900. These are the signed versions, of course. Ari is $1,500, and then Misfortune at $750. Zero change from last week. None of these have changed in any significant amount. They're all kind of sitting at the steady prices that they were. Of course, Darius is still the least valuable of all these signed overnumbered cards. If we're talking about the unsigned versions, I believe Kaisa overtook Ari a few weeks ago, so Kaisa is now the most expensive unsigned as well, followed by Ari at 190, and then you got Victor at 133, Misfortune at 111, and then everything else is $100 or less. Talking about rare cards, Thousand-Tailed Watcher, Zanyas, and Darius, still the 3 most valuable rare cards in the entire set. But yeah, these prices have been just dropping off a cliff in the last couple of weeks, which is really cool because now you can finally, get those final copies of cards that you need to fill out your decks. So pretty significant drops across the board here. So if you actually take a look at the average price for an alt art rune versus a promo Nexus Knight rune, they're about the same. If we get into these here, the Nexus Knight runes, $21 for a Chaos rune, 20 for a Mind, 15 for Fury, 13 for Body, 12 for Calm, and 11 for Order. So these prices are pretty all over the place. Like Chaos is expensive, but Order is still only $11 right now. The alt arts are a little different from their Nexus Knight counterparts, but they're also pretty much at that same amount, right? Like the Order one is $5 more. But it's only at 15. The Mind rune is actually less than its counterpart, and this is the one that's harder to pull because it comes out of boxes. And then the Chaos rune is actually less than its Nexus Knight promo. So really interesting to see the movement on these runes, but I would expect to see all these stay between $10 and $20 until Spirit Forge comes out, at which point I'm pretty sure they're going to drop even more because these runes are also going to be available in Spirit Forged, and the only difference is going to be that there's going to be a different stamp at the bottom left, like different lettering, not even a stamp, it's just going to be the Spirit Forged numbers. So not much change on these. If you don't have a full set of runes yet, I wouldn't worry about them unless you want to buy while they're low now. You could do that, but these are going to be present in Spirit Forge as well. Let's go through the TCG player things that I had pulled up here. We talked about Seal of Discord already. Just wanted to highlight this White Flame Protector graph. Kind of cool to see how much this has dropped. Like, look at this in the last couple of weeks. Straight off a cliff down to the lowest price it's ever been. So really neat, $25 on that. Dazzling Aurora graph. This card was sitting around $80 for a long time, but in the last 3 months it's dropped and now it's sitting at $40. So pretty significant drops here. Acathian Rain, again, at one point was like a $70, $80 card because of Kaisa's popularity. But you can see here, this card has just been dropping in value. Now sitting at $20, basically the lowest price ever on that card as well. Brynhir, we talked about how I was right with the market manipulation from last week, so not much else to say there. Rasa, again, speculating that this is a similar story to Brynhir. I would not buy this at $5. I would give it a week or two and let it come right back down because I'm pretty sure that this is another pump and dump operation. Okay, let's get into the European prices really quick. So we've got an Origins booster box now sitting at, looks like the 30-day price average is sitting around 230 on these booster boxes, at least in the European market. It's interesting to me that these boxes haven't seen a decrease, even though the second wave got pushed out. So maybe in Europe, the second wave wasn't as significant to the market as it was in the US, because these boxes have continued to go up in price. So I wanted to highlight the runes in Europe for the first time. I never really look at these, but the body rune has been steadily increasing, as well as the calm rune. These prices have been going up. So interesting that the Nexus Knight runes are increasing in value in Europe, and just wanted to call that out. When it comes to Deadbloom Predator, though, same drops as we're seeing in the US. This is now around 45 euros, pretty good price for Deadbloom Predator, and this has been going down over the last month. Same story with White Flame Protector. It's just been dropping even more significantly than Deadbloom has. So now you're looking at, I think there's listings for €22.99, €23.50 euro. So pretty low prices on White Flame as well here. I wish Card Market had a 3-month graph or a year graph that you could look at instead of just a 1 month, but maybe something they'll implement in the future. Dazzling Aurora, same story as those other Epic cards. This one has just been steadily dropping over the last month. Now a good price for a Aurora would be 26 euro. There's some Chinese listings for less. Some English listings for 28, 29, but if you're paying more than 30 euro for an Aurora, that's probably a little bit too much, because it looks like there's some cheaper listings here. We'll talk about Brynhir here. 485 euro is the number they're giving on Card Market. Now, it looks like this card hasn't recovered from its market manipulation from last week, at least in Europe. But again, if you look back at the US numbers, this card came straight back down. So I'd expect the European market to do the same. It's probably just a couple of days behind. So probably still a bad time to buy Brynhir if I would have to guess. Rasa the Sunderer has also, again, skyrocketed in Europe. I'm pretty sure this is just another buyout. So give this a couple days, my European friends, and I'm pretty sure this card will be back down to its cheap price. And the final thing that I wanted to highlight here was Stack Deck. Stack Deck has been one of the most consistently sold cards in the US and in Europe, just because this is one of the only cards in the game that is basically an auto-include in every single deck of its color. You're not going to find many cards that do that, and the effect on this card is so good, it's so cheap, and yet it's very balanced as well, which is cool to see. The design on this card was just really, really excellent. So big shout out to whoever designed the text on this card. And yeah, so it's been consistently sold. Its price has kind of remained steady at around 4 euro. And I wanted to show this Instagram post from Card Market. They themselves reported that Stack Deck was the most sold card for Riftbound Origins in 2025. And then second place went to Defy, third to Ride the Wind, fourth to Stupefy, and fifth to Ravenbloom. And the trend here is really that all 5 of these cards are just staples in their respective colors. So just wanted to call out Stack Deck and compliment the designers of that card, because I think it's really cool that it's basically played in everything that's purple. I would expect that to stay true until this card rotates. Yeah, it's just so good. And that about does it for our midweek market watch. Thanks everyone for tuning in once again. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do an episode next week because I have to travel for work. So we'll see if I manage to put something out before that happens. But if I don't see you next week, I'll definitely be back the week after that. And really excited to continue this series with you guys and keep following the market. If you found this video to be informative and this kind of video is helpful for you, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me and it would go a long way towards helping me to make more content like this. But anyway, until I see you in the next video, peace.